if it goes by Johor, I think we are in trouble. Some people will not like it because I have been quite transparent that, you know, I think we are looking to preserve and avoid casualties. I don't think that we are really looking for realistically winning general election. It doesn't mean that I say we cannot win. It means that if we don't do anything now and expect miracles, we should expect huge casualties. The best that I hope for, realistically now, is to make sure that Pakatan Harapan stays intact as the largest opposition bloc in parliament after the next general election. If we do things right in the next 3 or 4 months, hopefully the result will be very close. That, you know, Pakatan being a large bloc, even if it cannot form a government by itself, is perhaps the second or the largest bloc by its own. Because even if you are the largest bloc, you may not be able to form a government because, you know, all the other so-called Malay-based parties can form together. But what we don't want is that not only that we lose, but we are third, fourth bloc in parliament, because it means that Pakatan is losing relevance, and that's dangerous. So, realistically speaking, let's try to win about 80 seats in the next general election. 80 seats, you know, because I think 80 seats, 80 parliamentary seats, is the kind of benchmark that we need to aim for to remain as, you know, largest or second largest bloc in parliament, you know. And I think hopefully it's doable if we pull our socks now.
What's your opinion on the Big Ten strategy, which Pakatan Harapan leadership said they want to unite the opposition bloc for the G15? Because now some leaders from BAP, they are urging their party to go solo in the coming general election, and they think that they more prefer we only form a coalition after the general election. So what's your thoughts on this?
I happen to agree with that. I actually happen to agree with that thinking. By now you know that I am totally against this so-called concept of Big Ten. Not much of anything. It's just that because I think the data suggests otherwise. The approach for Big Ten is taking a simplistic view about voters' tendency. They look at Johor and they think that PN has about 25%, PKR and PH and Muda has about 29%, 29 plus 25, we should win. There's a concept called votes transferability, and that's what we tested in Johor with about 40,000 voters. We have developed that science from 2016 because you remember when I first talked about in a three-corner fight, we can defeat BN. The whole world basically spit on me. Because, you know, nobody believed that. But that's because we have tested vote transferability. The issue, you know, the science behind it is that you can build a mathematical model to see that given 3 or more options, if this party doesn't exist, which vote it will go to. And, you know, the most scary part about Johor was that when we run the simulation, the vote transfer is just between, of the fence-sitters, the vote transfer from the fence-sitters is only between BN and PM. PH number stays the same throughout, no matter how you simulate. So that means that the voters in Johor, more or less, have kind of made up their mind, even before the voting day, not to vote PH, you know. Some of our candidates describe it is almost like being an MCA candidate before. That when you go around, voters were actually polite to you. They did not curse you, they're polite, because you have been servicing the area for a long time. So you go and you help them during Raya, during Chinese New Year, but they were very reserved. By now we know when voters are not warm to you, despite knowing you, despite you have served the area for a long time, you know that they have made up their mind. And that explains why you see Perikatan Nasional, PN candidates, although they are very new, they hardly do anything on the ground, they actually get a lot of votes. It's because of this vote transfer that, between UMNO and PN and PH, if given a choice, which one would you vote, they actually prefer PN. The same that happened in Kelantan and Terengganu in the last general election, those fence-sitters decided that because PKR and PH and Amanah wouldn't be able to defeat UMNO, I better vote PAS, although I don't necessarily like PAS. So the Big Ten approach basically assumes that this thing doesn't exist. It assumes that if you eliminate the number of party contesting, the vote will go automatically to you. It doesn't work like that. It's most probably you may suppress the your own core attendance words. So what happens in PH now is basically our core voters, the fence-sitters who had voted for us, are disillusioned, partly because of what happened, partly because of Sheraton, partly also because, the attempt to work with certain parties. And then if you imagine if you work with PN, how will Chinese, reconcile that this is the very people, PAS and Bersatu, who step us back. Chinese used to back PAS in 2008, 2013, only to be, and after 2018, the kind of racist remarks that come from PAS, how do you erase that collective memory of voters? Same with PKR voters. How do you expect PKR voters to accept Azmin and Bersatu? It's just impossible, So if we recognize that voters have collective memory, it is very important to appeal to those sentiments rather than looking for 1+1. Because even PN's voters, the moment they work with PH and PKR, they will lose their voters. In fact, if you ask me, if the intention is to so-called have a Big Ten so that you can co-opt PAS and Bersatu, the effect of that is surely delivering 2/3 to UMNO on civil platter. Because those Malays who had voted for PN after this will even abandon PN and go and vote for UMNO. So the issue is a lot deeper than that. The issue is about appealing and understanding the sentiment of the voters. It's about product. It's about making sure that the product that we offer to them has, in the tech world, it's called product market fit. There is a fit to what they want to vote. So if that means that it takes different parties appealing to the kind of micro-targeted audience in order to win seats, and if that means that PKR use its own logo, the AP use its own logo, I think it's something that is not, is worth considering. It's something that has to be more data-driven. We need to make the decision based on knowledge and science and data, not, the simplistic political strategy that we have seen before.